Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel, on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I'm going to discuss this parsha, part of this parsha, which is Parshat Toldot. And we're going to talk about, in this short shiur, lessons learned from the blessings that Isaac gave to Jacob and the enigma of Jacob posing as his brother Esau. Now we know that as Jews, we have an obligation of Tikun Haolam, making the world a better place to live, making the world into a world that God desired when he created the world. Isaac wanted to bless his son Esau with those things that would lead him to fulfill the obligations of Tikun Haolam. So a number of questions are asked by this choice, are raised by this choice. First of all, we have to look at the wording of the Parsha. And the Parsha begins saying that Isaac is old, he's thinking about his death already, getting ready to die, and he wants to bless his son. Now he has two sons, Esau, who was the firstborn, and Jacob. The difference between these two sons was about as radical as you can get. The Torah says, Esau Eish Sada, that Esau was a person of the land. He was a hunter. He was narcissistic. He was only concerned with himself. Yaakov, on the other hand, the Torah says, Yaakov Ish Yoshe Ba'alim. He dwelled in tents, meaning the tents of Torah. He spent his time on a higher level. So Yaakov chose to give this blessing to Esau. And the question is, based on the difference between Esau and Yaakov, he seemed like the most illogical person to be given that blessing. And Yaakov, on the other hand, represented all that was good by our Holy Fathers. And then the next question is asked, in posing as his brother, wasn't Jacob, in effect, deceiving Isaac? A trait that you would not expect of somebody of such high moral character? So we're going to discuss those questions. First of all, what happened? Rivka, the mother of both Jacob and Esau, heard Isaac saying to Esau, go and raise up your bow, your arrows, your quiver, and bring me some good venison so that I can bless you. Rivka was a prophetess. She knew that the bracha was really supposed to go to Yaakov, to Jacob, and she wanted to do what she could to prevent that. So what did she do? Is she told Jacob to pose as his brother Esau, to, instead of going hunting, to take from food they had around, flock that they had around, would be quicker, prepare food. She put some hairy things on his arms so that he would feel hairy like Esau was. And she told him to go and get the brachas, get the blessings from Yitzchak. Yaakov protested. He says, how can I do that? I can't, my father will know that I'm deceiving him and I'll be cursed. And instead of a blessing, I'll have a curse. And she said, don't worry. you have to do what you have to do. You have to get this blessing from him. If there's a curse, it'll be on me. So what was what was Isaac thinking about why he wanted to give the blessing to Esau? Because he understood that for Tikun Haolam, that to correct the things in this world and to make this world a place that is like the place that God envisioned when he created the world, it had to start from below. He had to take a situation where we recognize that everything in this world, the material things, are holy. He knew that Esau was involved with material things. So when he tells Esau, raise up your bow, he's telling him, he's hinting at what he wants to tell him. He wants him to raise up all of the things of this world to a high level. Now, Jacob was already on a high level. And as the Meforshim tell us, some of the interpretations, he was like an angel. So Isaac knew that you couldn't fulfill this Tikun Haolam by an angel. It had to be done by somebody on earth. It had to be done by somebody here. And that's why he chose to give the bracha to Esau. And of course, the story goes on. Yaakov went in, masquerading as Esau, and he got the bracha. What was the bracha that he received? What was the blessing? God will give you the dew of the heaven, the fats of the earth, all the material things, because Esau wanted. Isaac wanted the Tikun Haolam to come from somebody who had some connection with materialistic things, to raise these things to a level of holiness. And that's why he originally chose Esau for the blessing. So what about Yaakov, who's the epitome? He's the paragon of all of the fathers of Abraham, Isaac. Why is he, in a sense, is he really deceiving his father? So the Radak, who lived almost 1,000 years ago, Davidovich, he says, that's a really good question. He says, how could Yaakov, who's a tzaddik and somebody who fears God, how could he say something that's not true? How could he lie? And he says, no, he says, Yaakov really knew that he was supposed to get the blessings from more than his brother. And we see examples of lying that he said, it seemed like lies when both Abraham and Isaac referred to their wives at one point in their lives as my sisters. And he points out that was because it wasn't a lie, but they were fearful for their lives. And he said there isn't a lie when you're fearful of your life. Telling a lie isn't considered a lie when you're fearful for your life. So what's the lie here? What's the fear here? So we're commanded. The Torah tells us, Imo v'aviv, ish imo v'aviv tiro. A person should fear his mother and his father. So therefore, the mother is mentioned first, and the mother commanded him, so that was a reason to do that. So then the question is, well, wait a minute, it says both ish imo v'aviv and the father. So still, even though his mother is telling him to deceive him, how could he go to do that? The added factor that the Radak brings, and also the Orach Chaim, Rabbi Chaim Attar brings, is that Rivka was a Neviah. She was a prophetess. She was a prophetess, and we are told that with a prophet or a prophetess, you have to listen to their words. So in essence then, Yaakov had two different commandments that he had to fulfill, two positive commandments. One of listening to his mother, and the other of listening to a prophetess, to the words of a prophetess. And therefore, there really was no sheker, there was no lie, there was no deception. He was fulfilling the mitzvah. what we learn from this is that if we want to be Tikun Haolam, we have to take those things that are available to us, the materiality of this world, and raise them up to a level of holiness. You do that by Kadesh Atzmacha B'ma Shemuter Lach, taking those things that are permitted to you and raising them up to a level of serving God. Thank you for listening on behalf of the Web Yeshiva. I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat, and may we all do our part for Tikun Haolam, because it's got to start down here.